Okay, it looks like we're live, both on YouTube over here. So when I look at this camera, I'm talking to YouTube. When I look at in this direction, I'm talking to our audience on Facebook. So welcome to podcast number 2, One Small Town, podcast number 2, with me, Michael Tillinger. Today is the 13th of November, 2024, and we continue our journey of discovery, discussing One Small Town, contributionism, and the new beautiful world that we're creating for ourselves and our future, our families, our children. If you logged in and watched last week's podcast number 1, let me say, if I waffled a little bit, if I was all over the place, it's probably because there is so much to discuss and so much to cover. And I promise that into the future episodes, we're going to stick to a specific number of subjects and ideas, deal with questions from the audience and from members and interested people. And we're going to cover as much as we possibly can. Now, I also know that this is a huge subject. Remember, we're doing something so new and so counter to the normal way things are done. Completely counterintuitive, especially when it comes to the economic model. That there is so much to cover and so many important foundational principles to absorb and comprehend that I'm going to try and stick to maybe doing an hour, not much more than an hour every week, so it doesn't become an information overload. Otherwise, it is a lot of information. For me, I could talk about One Small Town for 2 days nonstop, and we probably won't even come close to covering all the important aspects because I've been doing it for so long. It's in my DNA. This is what I do every day. So it's easy for me to get carried away and go on and try and explain things in sometimes long and involved ways. I'm going to try and keep it simple, keep it straight, and let's get going. So first of all, I want to remind all of us that there is so much abundance in this world. We live in a world of abundance. We do not live in a world of scarcity. And just let that sink in. There is an abundance of food, an abundance of water, an abundance of resources, and everything we need for humanity to thrive. We should never have a lack of anything. The only reason that we sometimes think that there's a scarcity because of this socioeconomic system and the socioeconomic model that we find ourselves in. And that's the whole capitalist model where people try and exploit the resources and exploit what we have for financial benefit and financial gain. And if we just turn that around and realize that there is so much available for everyone, we don't really have to become greedy or worried about things running out. And that fundamentally is the foundation of the One Small Town initiative, is realizing that there's enough for everybody to go around. We just have to change the way we think about it. There isn't a scarcity of water. There's just scarcity of water because of the control and the way that water is channeled in certain parts of the world. If you just think about the thousands and thousands of rivers that constantly, water flows into the oceans every second of every day. Just think about all the water in the world. And we could possibly in future episodes discuss water as a substance, that magical substance that is so important to life everywhere. So let's continue. I believe that, and pretty much all the members of One Small Town believe that no one should be homeless, no one should be hungry, and everyone should have what they want for themselves and for their communities, for their families, because there is so much abundance in the world. So every day, about 8 billion people wake up, and I've been talking about this for many, many years. And this is just an example of how trapped we are in this mindset of in this socioeconomic system and what I call slavery system that we've all been trapped in. Every day, about 8 billion people wake up, and we all do something. We do something. We build, we cook, we manufacture, we create, we paint, we invent, we deliver, we sing and dance. We do millions and millions of different things. And there are millions and millions and billions of people with special, unique gifts and talents. But at the end of the day, at the end of the week, very few of us can afford what it is that we've done and created and built and invented. For the simple reason that most of us are not doing it for the benefit of our families, our communities, and the benefit of ourselves. Most of us do what we're good at for a corporation or a government. And those of us that are lucky enough to work for ourselves, we still end up getting caught up in this rat race of trying to survive, trying to deliver a service that we have to charge for. And then we get stuck in that socioeconomic rat race, And when you get to the top of the mountain, you realize that what now? Now you've got 1 million people trying to knock you off the top of that mountain because they want to get to the top. So, many of you would have heard that expression. Even if you win the rat race, you're still a rat. And I've always liked that expression because that's what this is. And we need to change the way we think about what we do. And that's what Once More Town does. Once More Town provides the solutions, it provides the framework, it provides the platforms, the structures, the mechanisms, the management systems to create the beautiful world that most of us want to live in. I can't imagine that there are people that want to live in a world where they are abused, that they're not honored and respected, and so forth. So in this world of abundance, where there is so much around us, so much in nature provides so much for us. No one should be homeless, no one should be hungry, and no one should ever feel alone, especially if you reside in a Once More Town community. So there's an interesting statement that is used in commerce and in the financial systems and by the academics that work in working on our annual budgets and things like that, and they call it negative growth. And I've just always been absolutely fascinated by this thing of negative growth. What does that mean? Negative growth is an insane, fictitious, unrealistic expression of something that's impossible. Negative growth can only exist in financial systems and in a capitalist system, because in life, all of us do something. Life grows, life is created. There is no such thing as negative growth. You either have $10 or you don't have $10. You can't have minus $10. That is a fictitious capitalist accounting, entry login entry, and that's not. I'm not attacking capitalism now, because we're going to use capitalism and Once More Town uses capitalism and the generation of money to create these beautiful, abundant communities. But I just want to bring this up. So when you hear academics and what you call economists, that's the word I'm looking for, economists. When you hear economists talking about negative growth, just understand what that means. It is an anti-human expression, because we constantly do something. Every time you breathe in and breathe out, you're creating life. You're giving life to the cells in your body. There's no possibility of negative growth. So, or either that growth stops and the energy continues in a different form, but there's no negative growth. Okay, so I think I've exhausted that right now, and that's always been one of my, petty peeves and gripes about how we are brought up and indoctrinated through the ongoing brainwashing of believing that money makes the world go round. And again, if you watched many of my of the workshops that I do around the world that I've done over the many years, you'll hear me say that money does nothing people do everything, right? We build the bridges, we plant the seeds, we grow the food, we grow, we invent and create and build and paint and dance and sing. Money does nothing. If you can take any amount of money, put it in a room or put it in the middle of a village, nothing's going to happen with that money. It'll stay there, it'll rot, it'll burn, it'll decompose. Nothing's going to happen until people decide to get up and do something. So money is a driving force to make people do something. Now, can you imagine if we can change the reason why we do something, if it's not only money that makes us do something? And most of the people around the world already have other initiatives, other motivations, other reasons why they do things. Because you love it. It's a passion of yours. It's a hobby of yours. And you do it out of the goodness of your heart. You help communities. You do this. We help the orphans. We deliver food. In disasters, we help each other and so forth. So please understand this, that by nature, humanity is not bad. Humanity is not evil. People all over the world are beautiful souls that want to express their God-given creative talents, creative abilities. Unfortunately, the system has locked us down, and it prevents most of us from living out our lives, our dreams, our passions, our talents, to express our talents so that we feel the benefit and the joy from expressing our talents and putting them to use. And also the community is then robbed of millions and millions of people around the world contributing towards their communities through their skills and talents, because the system that we find ourselves in has been created to stop us from doing that. And we get caught up in these rat races and just struggling to survive, all because of money. So just to remind you, and one of the notes that I ended off on last week's episode is that one of my favorite slogans that we've come up with for the One Small Town initiative is we use the tools of enslavement as tools of liberation. And it's so important to understand, to really understand that. So we have to use all aspects of the current system. We don't fight the system. We don't participate in any violence, opposition, or conflict. We don't try and fight the system or break the system, because it's impossible. We can't beat the system. The entire break the system, because it's impossible. We can't beat the system. The entire global system that we wake up to every morning, doesn't matter what country you live in. If you are using fiat currency and you have a central bank, we're all trapped in the same system through the central banking system around the world that drives us. And money is the primary tool of enslavement. And whether you accept it now or whether you're still wrestling with that in your mind, and you think somehow money is a good thing and money is a form of energy and so forth. Yes, to some extent it is, but to a large extent it is the tool that is used by the central banking system to keep us under control. So One Small Town does exactly the opposite. We don't fight the system because we can't beat the system. We have to create a new system that works parallel to the existing system, that slowly but surely will make the existing system obsolete. And that's one of Buckminster Fuller's famous expressions, right? You can't beat the system by fighting it. You need to create a new system that makes the existing system obsolete. And I must tell you, that's in essence what One Small Town is all about. That's what we're doing. So let me try and follow my notes here before I start rambling on and going off in all kinds of tangents. So by now, most of us realize that our system is broken, right? It can't be fixed. And this is why we can't fight it. We can't try and fix it. And I mentioned last week that, One Small Town grew and evolved out of being involved in politics, learning that very, very hard lessons that you cannot use politics or believe that you can inject a seed of consciousness into the political beast and believe that you can use politics as a tool and a means to change the system. Obviously, it's very beneficial for us, for humanity, for the peace-loving people of the world that want to live in united communities, that want to live in communities of prosperity and abundance, that cooperate and collaborate for the greater good of everyone in our community, the One Small Town model. People that believe in that will understand that I completely lost my train of thought. You see, there I go rambling again. Oh my God, I've got to stick to my notes. And this is where it's going to be my introduction, my lesson, learning about how to do podcasts and not not uh, not doing a lecture, which is there's a slight difference. And I'm discovering this as we go. And that's why these live podcasts are such a good, I guess, a good lesson for me as we go through this. Right. So the system is broken. That's what I was talking about. We can't fix it. And we are creating a new system. So I also, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to try and stick to about an hour of the podcast. I'm trying to avoid information overload. Now, let's deal with the simple philosophy of One Small Town. For those that are still new to it, it is a big idea. Just because it's got the word small in it, it is a big idea. Just because it's got the word small in it doesn't mean this is a small little thing. I must tell you that the One Small Town initiative may be, at this stage, it may be the biggest global initiative to actually create a new world and set up a new system that will help people prosper, thrive, create those communities of abundance and prosperity, and create those amazing communities where, for their children, for themselves, for their future, their families, their community, that they've always wanted, that I've always wanted. And I believe you're watching this because you've always wanted that kind of community. And no matter what country you live in, the One Small Town initiative is meant for every single living, breathing human being. So I'm going to come to our plan of action and what we're doing and how we're going to do that. So first of all, the philosophy of One Small Town is very simple. We work together. It's all about people in small towns deciding to work together, deciding to cooperate, deciding to collaborate. No one is forced to join the One Small Town initiative. It's not something you're forced to sign up to. So even if we launch One Small Town in a specific town or a community, no one is forced to join. People will decide they're going to sit on the fence, or they think this is a crappy idea. They think it's some communistic plot. And I'll come back to that to talk of the difference between communism and contributionism, for those that are still confused. So no one's forced to join. Everyone, it's a voluntary membership. Remember, this is really important. And it's a voluntary membership for people who really resonate with the One Small Town philosophy. And there are millions and millions of people who do resonate with the One Small Town philosophy. That is the most exciting thing. And when you start talking to people about it in your town, in your community, when you start meetup groups, and we'll talk about that, how to launch the idea in your community with little meetup groups and so forth, and networks and chat groups and so forth. And you start talking to people and say, this is what we're thinking of starting, you'll realize how many people resonate and agree with this idea. That's one of the most exciting things that you'll probably experience. And those that don't want to participate, those that are naysayers and they say, what about this? What about that? They always one or two or a few people that they just don't get it, and they always try and undermine you. They come to your meetings, but then they argue against you. So, okay, if you ever experience that, just keep in mind, this is a membership, voluntary participation. So if you come to a One Small Town meeting, come with ideas and solutions. Be positive. Don't come there to try and undermine the people that are meeting, trying to come up with solutions for their community. And if anybody keeps coming back to your startup meetings and community meetings and so forth, if they're coming there and I've just noticed that no one is commenting on the YouTube, and maybe I've pushed the wrong buttons. Anyway, we go. I can see the wonderful comments on Facebook, so we'll see what's happening with YouTube. So if you find that people join your meetup groups that are negative and they constantly try and, what about this? What about that? It's never going to work. So listen, you're a lovely guy. God bless you. This is for people that want to come up with solutions and want to come up with ideas. And if you don't want to join us and come up with ideas and solutions to improve our community, then maybe this is not the meeting or the group for you. So keep it positive, keep it upbeat, There are so many beautiful ideas, so many incredible people that you will discover in your community once you start meeting and coming up with solutions and ideas for your community. And what I've just shared with you is actually one of the fundamental points of launching a One Small Town. And I must tell you, this is something that we've learned through hardcore experiences, especially over the last 5 years, through blood, sweat, and tears, and lots of frustration, is how do you start One Small Town to show small successes? You don't have to explode, with a nuclear explosion, so it blows everyone away and they go, wow, look what's arrived in our community. It's not going to happen like that. It's going to happen with small ideas, small efforts, small groups of people that start. And there is no bigger motivating visual or image than seeing a group of people that put on their One Small Town t-shirts and they start doing something in their town. I tell you, the moment you experience that in your community, in your town, and that group of people gets together every week or every day or every weekend, and they start doing something to uplift their community, you'll see how quickly that attracts people, because they get inspired, they watch what you're doing, and they want to be part of something exciting, something interesting. People need good news, they need motivation, they need action, they need hope. And that's what we're doing. So the philosophy is simple. We get together and the people sign up as members of One Small Town. I spoke about the platform briefly last week. I'll talk about it again. And everything is managed on the One Small Town platform, because that is the stable mechanism that allows members from all over the world to belong to the same philosophy. Otherwise, it's just a whole bunch of disparate people doing all kinds of stuff, doing it in their own way and not connecting, not communicating, not being able to share what they've discovered, grown, built, invented, created, or what they want to export or share or import and benefit from. So it's very important. So, and one of the most important things of being a One Small Town member is you have to pledge to do something for your community, because this is all about contributionism. And that's what contributionism is. It's we contribute to our community. Contributing, contributionism. It's very simple. The meaning is in the word. It's not a hidden thing, right? So we contribute to the greater good of our community, and that's why it's called contributionism. And that pledge that you make as a One Small Town member is that you pledge to contribute a minimum of 3 hours a week towards your community, whether it's community projects, whether it's one of the businesses that we're setting up and they need hands on deck to help set up the business or help run the business or help delivering or help in bookkeeping or help in PR or marketing or security or anything to do. It all depends what kind of businesses they are that we've started in our communities. We choose to contribute a minimum of 3 hours a week. So that turns our town and our community into a really, really powerful, united labor force. Just think about this. Just let this sink in. If this hasn't sunk in for you, then you've really missed the probably the most powerful, fundamental strength of the One Small Town, the backbone, the essence of the power of the One Small Town initiative. We, in essence, what we're doing by cooperating, collaborating, working together, starting our own businesses that belong to us, belong to the members of our community. They don't belong to any outsiders. We might have investors, but the businesses belong to us because we start them. We choose what businesses to start, and therefore we are the majority shareholders of these businesses. We can never lose them. They can never be closed. No foreign corporation can ever decide to close our businesses down. So what are we doing in essence? In essence, we're turning our town into a company, a corporation with workers, and we are the workers in our own company, a large company called our town, the One Small Town Initiative. Now, in a town of 10,000 people, you'll hear some interesting noises in the background. The the hardy-dar birds, the sacred ibises that fly around Johannesburg. So imagine 10,000 people that participate, and everyone contributes a minimum of 3 hours a week. There will be some that will contribute a lot more, and we'll discuss that again. That just each one contributing 3 hours a week, we now have 30,000 hours of labor a week, 120,000 hours of free labor every week. That would cost millions of dollars for any corporation to pay the people that work in those companies. It'll cost, it all depends what country you live in. It'll cost, more than $1 million or just less than that. Doesn't matter. It's a lot of money that you'd have to have as a company to pay those 10,000 people. We don't have to pay those 10,000 people because we're the people. These are our businesses, our companies, and we contribute our 3 hours into each one of those companies so that we make sure they produce the best products, that we produce them as cost effectively as we can, that whatever it is we do it to the best of our capacity with the best possible management teams in those businesses. So that is fundamentally the quintessential essence of One Small Town. We choose to contribute 3 hours a week. But now you can imagine in countries like South Africa and in many countries around the world, there are many people without work. They have very little to show or very little to do. They have no work. Some people don't even have a place to stay. People live in shacks. So the One Small Town initiative provides a game-changing reality overnight by allowing these members, or giving these, not allowing, that's a terrible word. We don't allow, that's not allowing. It's providing them with an opportunity to participate and uplift themselves with immediate effect. And we are going to talk about some of the mandatory cornerstone projects that we, as One Small Town, will want to see initiated in every community to make sure that it becomes a success. And this is because of our experiences, especially my experience with doing this. So we'll come back to the mandatory. Mandatory is a terrible word, but the cornerstone businesses that, or projects, not businesses, projects that we need to make sure that One Small Town does not fail, that becomes a success. So now we have our town that's literally like a large company with thousands of workers working in all the businesses that we've started. And many of the people that are out of work and they can contribute 3 hours a week, and 3 hours a day, not just 3 hours a week. So now I can imagine how much more profitable and how much more we can do when we have thousands of people that are contributing 3 hours a day and not just 3 hours a week. This is a game changer on every possible level. So that's in essence the One Small Town philosophy, the foundation, how we do it, how we start the businesses, who manages the businesses. That's a very important thing. Now, if we're going to start a business in our community, we want that business to run to the best of its ability. So there are some people that are still confused. Now, I get a lot of these emails. I know I got a bunch of emails last week asking all kinds of questions. And one of the questions was, well, so the volunteers are going to run the businesses? How is that going to work? No. Please be very clear about this. When we start our businesses, we start them with a very solid business plan, going into great detail about the management, the cost of running the business, who's going to run the businesses, how many people do you need in management, and keeping the management as lean as possible, so that we only really employ the top people that are necessary, the experts in that business. If it's an engineering company, then we need a top, internationally acclaimed or experienced engineer that will know how to handle this business, and one or two people below that engineer. And then the rest of the work is all done by the members of that town, whether it's PR and marketing and delivery and security, networking, accounting, legal work, all that stuff. All that stuff is centralized and can be done by a centralized group of people in our town that do the accounting and the PR and the publicity and the sales and so forth. So I hope it's starting to, for those that are still new to it, starting to realize how many costs we can cut by running and managing our own businesses in the small town that are managed by experts in that specific field, and the rest of the work is done by us, our members, who are pledging their time. And some of our members will pledge more than 3 hours a week, as I mentioned, and we start developing a culture of cooperating, collaborating, doing this together, doing this forever, doing this together, and doing this into the future, and just growing more and more businesses. So, in essence, One Small Town is very much driven by think locally, act locally, act locally, because we're starting our businesses, we're communicating, we work together in our communities, in our towns, but we think globally, because everything we do is done not just to benefit ourselves, but is also done with the intention of exporting the excess products and produce and items that we manufacture and create and produce. So there's a very interesting balance that needs to be that will be created, and I'm going to talk about that, because one of the fascinating things we've learned over the last 5 years, especially, is, and again I'm jumping tracks now, but it's an important thing to bring into the conversation right now, is doing things as a humanitarian organization is so counterintuitive to the capitalist model that we live in, right? In a humanitarian organization, One Small Town is 100% a humanitarian initiative. The company is a nonprofit company, and it's registered like that in pretty much all the countries around the world where we launch One Small Town. So everything we do is not done for profit, for shareholders. We are producing and manufacturing and making money and making profit, but that profit is constantly fed back into the system, into the small towns, and so that it helps to constantly upgrade and uplift those communities. Now, this is completely counterintuitive to a capitalist business plan, or a business plan that you find in the modern world, and especially when you start dealing with agriculture and growing food. So we've had to really think deeply about how do we marry the idea of a group of people in a community. Let's say we want to grow a bunch of food for ourselves to make sure we got enough food for ourselves, but at the same time we want to grow food, whatever we don't use we can sell. Okay, that's great, but now it needs to be managed, it needs to be controlled, there needs to be systems in place. Who's in charge of this? Somebody has to be in charge. It can't just be a haphazard thing. Otherwise, it always is going to fail. It's going to become a disaster. And that's why most intentional communities end up failing because of that. Because they're generally speaking, the kind of people that start intentional communities, like, oh, we're going to get together and grow some food on a piece of land. Generally, they don't feel that they need somebody to manage it or control it, because then it becomes a dictatorship or a hierarchy, and those people are just by nature opposed to hierarchies and dictatorships. No one should ever support the dictatorships, but a management structure is critical to create success. So even though we're in it together, we still need a structure to manage what it is that we do. Otherwise, it just becomes a bloody mess. And that's literally what we've had to wrestle with. And it's a tough wrestle, I tell you what, because in my heart, I'm a humanitarian. But it's never going to succeed unless we have a structure and a management control system. And that's what we've been wrestling with for the last 5 years. And I believe that we have a solution. We have many solutions. But I also believe that those solutions that we have now are going to evolve. They're going to change over the coming years as we grow, as the towns come and they become prosperous and they become successful and people get involved and they start doing this across the world. We're going to learn more and more from these experiences, as we have learned, especially over the last 5 years, and especially since the whole COVID thing was kicked in. So that brought a lot of fascinating experiences. So how do you take, and I'm still on the example of marrying the idea of agriculture, say growing food for a community so it benefits the community, and then growing food on a commercial scale, like commercial farmers grow food, because we want to work with commercial farmers. We have thousands of commercial farmers, from small to big farmers, that have already signed up, who want to work with One Small Town, who want to grow organic, non-GMO food of all kinds. And again, I'm going to talk about how we're going to achieve that. How are we going to use our special seed treatment technology to create stable hybrid seeds that belong to One Small Town, where we own the genetic structure of that it doesn't belong to Monsanto or somebody else. And how we're ready to start working with these farmers, especially the small farmers around the world that are struggling to survive. The big giant corporate farmers, a lot of them are doing well, but even those farmers are under pressure and under threat in this crazy world we find ourselves in. So we've had to find a way to blend and match. How do we work with growing food on a large commercial scale so that it still benefits the community and the farmers want to work with us? And how do we grow food as a community for ourselves and then try and sell the overflow or the excess? And I can tell you that's been a very interesting experience. I'm going to, again, in future episodes, I'm going to come back and I'm going to cover that so that the farmers out there understand that we have a solution. And it's a very exciting investment opportunity, especially for those people and those billionaires and millionaires who want to invest into communities, who want to invest into food security, into seed security and seed banks that cannot be stolen from us, cannot be stolen from the people in the towns, in our communities. And this is just going to grow bigger and bigger. And we're going to find ourselves with thousands and thousands of seed banks and farmers around the world growing food, not just for the One Small Town communities, but for the global market. Now, on that note, I've got to tell you that the objective of One Small Town is obviously a globally connected network. And as far as agriculture is concerned, let me just stress once again, because I get a lot of emails about this and comments about this. We can't go from zero to hero overnight. Okay, so it is not easy these days to find non-GMO organic food and non-GMO organic crops. So we're working with as many farmers as we can that are growing non-GMO organic food, and we're going to be bringing them into the small towns that can deal with that food and start to produce food and distribute food that we know is healthy. And that's where the One Small Town stores are going to play such an important role. It is really important to understand that. So we can't go from zero to hero. It's a process, but we have started that process already. I can tell you now that we have way over 1,000 farmers that have signed up with us now, and many, many more that want to join us. But we also want to be prepared and ready to be able to meet the farmers and actually get them to participate and not frustrate them. So this is a big thing that we have to do and make sure that we've got our ducks in a row, and from our office side, that there's enough funding that we can engage with the farmers without frustrating them or making them promises that we can't deliver on. There are, however, many investors out there that want to get involved, that want to help fund agricultural, non-GMO, organic farmers, and that's a very exciting prospect. And again, we'll talk about that as we start to unpack this in future episodes. Just to a certain extent, I'm overwhelmed because I'm not quite sure what I should talk about first. What is more important? Is education more important? Is food more important? Is security more important? What should we be talking about? Once we know that we have a fundamental structure and we've decided to work together in our community, everything should fall in place. And we must have a structure, a very solid and rigid structure that helps us to manage our implementation of One Small Town. It can't just be a free-for-all, shooting from the hip and do what we think is right. We've tried that. And let me tell you what, it is a global, monumental disaster. And, I can write another book about that, how that simply does not work. And that's why the One Small Town platform is such a critical tool for our One Small Town members. So let me see where we are. Contributionism. We've discussed the contributionism. You all understand the One Small Town philosophy, the 3 hours a week. You can contribute more than 3 hours a week. Okay. Now, what are the benefits of contributing your time? That's a frequently asked question. By the way, I've now, after last week's, the first podcast, I received hundreds and hundreds of emails from people asking me questions, ask questions about this, and how are you going to do this, and how's this going to work, and how's that going to work? Please understand that I can't answer all those questions. It's simply impossible. So if you don't hear from me, that's not because I'm rude or I disrespect you. It's just impossible for me, one guy, to answer hundreds and hundreds of people's questions. So we have a lot of questions already on the website. Please go to the onesmalltown.org website and look for the Q&A page. And I've answered many questions, both in written form and also on video. So already a lot of videos where I answer many questions, and also many written questions that have been answered. I will keep adding to those questions from what arises out of this this podcast, and I will keep adding questions to it. I've just been attacked by a little dog here, and I'll keep adding questions to it as they come in, and we'll keep updating the videos and the written questions on the website. So please use the website. Start using our website as a source to get your answers from the website. Okay, the Q&A page. That we'll be doing videos and written answers. So let's go to where was I going with this? The benefits. Yes. So the questions. The benefits, obviously, there are many benefits, and by now we know that we're contributing 3 hours a week. In return for those 3 hours a week, each one of us receives an infinity token. And for those people that are still struggling with understanding the infinity tokens, it's okay. I don't expect you to get it instantly. I know that some people get it instantly, other people struggle. It takes them a while. They think that we're launching some sort of cryptocurrency that's going to be on the stock exchanges and on the cryptocurrency networks. That is not what we're doing. Okay, the infinity token is a critically important membership token, a private membership token. It is an asset-backed community token, and I cannot stress that enough. Okay, keep in mind that Bitcoin is not asset-backed. Okay, and for all those people that still believe that Bitcoin is some sort of a solution, or they get excited about Bitcoin, it is a problem in the world, because Bitcoin was launched, and I remember I was excited. We all believe it's going to help us and take us away from fiat currency. Bitcoin can be crashed tomorrow. If I had $10 million of Bitcoin and I went and I sold it at 10 cents each, it'll crash Bitcoin. It'll crash it. So Bitcoin can be crashed. Any cryptocurrency that is traded on the open markets can pretty much be crashed. The One Small Town Infinity token cannot be crashed. It can never be devalued, cannot be crashed. You can never lose it. It's literally like having a bank account with our own currency, our own membership currency that belongs to the One Small Town membership global network. It's that simple, and it's backed by our own sweat equity, because you have to contribute 3 hours of your time to earn or to receive the reward of one infinity token. It's that simple. It doesn't matter what you do. You can be teaching, you can be doing an online service to somebody, you can be doing accounting or bookkeeping, you can be driving a truck to deliver something for one of our businesses, you could be a security guard, you could do anything, any one of a million different things. As long as you're doing it as a One Small Town member, you are contributing towards the well-being of your community. And that's the key thing. So every time any one of our members anywhere in the world that is part of One Small Town contributes 3 hours to their community, to a allocated and a recognized business or a community project, that needs to be listed on the platform in your town. You can't just do something and say, well, I did this for 3 hours now, where's my token? No, it has to be a listed project, community uplifting project, or a business in your community, in your town, that you then contribute towards, and it's managed by project managers in that specific project. So when you do your 3 hours, you scan your membership card, it logs you into that specific project, and after 3 hours you log out, and immediately the system then puts your Infinity token into your digital wallet, which is on your membership account. I hope it's starting to form a picture. So the Infinity token is an instant benefit. Now, the other benefits are, I'm just going to rattle them off so that you got a list of it, and now I can go into detail of each one. Food from our food kitchen, food from our community food kitchen. That's very important. Once we launch One Small Town, you have to have a community kitchen in place so that the people that contribute their 3 hours every day or every week, whenever they contribute their 3 hours, not only do they get a token in their digital wallet, they also then get the benefit of going to our community kitchen and getting a plate of food. Now, for anyone that lives in a third world country or lives in a country that there is extreme poverty, that there's extreme homelessness, extreme joblessness, will understand what a game changer this is for the people in that community. It is a game changer of unbelievable proportion. Now suddenly somebody that doesn't have anything, they don't have a job, they don't have any money or means to earn money, they have a shack that they live in. Now suddenly they can wake up every morning, they can go and help to clean the streets, they can go and help in a factory or deliver water or work in the beehives or learn how to be a carpenter or learn skills and become an apprentice. Even those people that learn skills and become apprentices, they still earn Infinity tokens. And again, now I'm digressing because remember, we want our members to be well-skilled, well-trained. So we reward our members from signing up to learning new skills and doing an apprenticeship in our community. So suddenly this person that's got nothing, lives in the shack, got no money, no hope, no future, suddenly they can go out every day and work, contribute their time with love towards their community to help the community uplift, or work in a business that's going to make a profit. That gives them an Infinity token. That token, and that goes into their digital wallet. Then they can go at the end of that 3 hour shift, go to the One Small Town community kitchen, and I'll talk about what those kitchens should look like, right? And get a plate of food. That is a game changer. At the end of the month or at the end of the week, when that person has earned several Infinity tokens, they can take those tokens to the One Small Town store and exchange them for the goods in that store. Now, that person doesn't have to have a job. That person doesn't have to go and apply for a job. That person is now suddenly a respected individual with some integrity, and they feel that they have been empowered by the One Small Town initiative. It's changed their life. That's why I talk so passionately about it. And people that don't understand the Infinity token and its critical importance in this, really just don't force yourself, because then you're going to just let it wash over you. And eventually one day the penny will drop and it'll click and you'll understand, oh my God, this is the most powerful community token or crypto type of token that you can think of in the world. Nothing can come close to it. Okay. Now, I know there was a question about, somebody, I saw the question from somebody this week about, we've only issued 24 million tokens. What happens when those tokens run out? Obviously, that person did not read the website. That person just shoots from the hip. And they ask questions before they do their own homework. Now, I'm going to ask you with love in my heart, please be fair to me, okay? Don't just fire away and ask questions because it's something that comes to mind. Go do your homework. Do something to inform yourself. Read the website. Watch all the Q&A videos so that you get as many answers as you can before you start shooting from the hip and asking questions that have already been answered on the website. Okay, so we can never run out of Infinity tokens. It's impossible, because every time somebody contributes 3 hours, that act of contributing your 3 hours towards uplifting your community, you have just created an infinity token. So we can never run out of infinity tokens, but they're not just minted and created ad hoc willy-nilly when somebody decides to mint them and create them. Can you see why this is so important, why this is so powerful? This is not some cryptocurrency. It's created by somebody who wants to make $1 billion and then, thank you very much. And people scurry and fight over the cryptocurrency and it can be crashed overnight. No, we've created something so unique that this is what's going to drive the world. And in fact, maybe this penny has dropped for you already. If all the banks in the world had to close their doors tomorrow and nobody could withdraw any money, you had no access to your money, you couldn't trade, you couldn't bank, you couldn't send money because the banks were closed, you couldn't pay anybody, you couldn't receive money, guess what? We already have a solution for that with One Small Town, with our digital wallets, and with the infinity tokens. All you got to do is have some infinity tokens in your digital wallet and you can trade and exchange. That's it. We don't need to stop for anything. We continue. And every time you do something, you earn more tokens. So we don't have to stop if the banks close their doors. In fact, that's when everybody will be turning to One Small Town for solutions because we've already created that solution. It exists. So benefits, let's come back to those benefits. Food and other products. You've already seen the benefit of the tokens, the food every day that changes people's lives overnight, and then the getting the stuff at the One Small Town trading store. The One Small Town store is a true and utter trading store. And that's going to change the way goods are produced, manufactured, and sold. Because now we provide an opportunity for all the home industries. Anyone that's produced and manufacturing anything can bring it to this One Small Town store, put it on the shelves, because we're not putting it out there to make a profit. We're putting it out there for the community to benefit. And when I say we, it's not me, it's the community. It's your store. That One Small Town trading store belongs to you and your community. Okay? So you can put anything you want into that trading store. And some of the money that is made, the profits that are made from our businesses are used to buy product and produce for our One Small Town trading store. I'll come back to that because this is still new. And so I said, I don't want to run more than an hour with these podcasts because it does get to information overload. So food benefits, other products benefits, not infinity tokens. Now imagine once you have tokens in your digital wallet and you don't have, for example, you need a bicycle and you desperately need a bicycle because you got a job somewhere and you need to ride to the job, or you need a little motorbike or a lawnmower or whatever. You can trade your tokens with any other member for something else. So one of the other members in your community has a lawnmower and you need a lawnmower. So you say, right, how much do you want for your lawnmower? And he says, well, give me $100. And you say, well, how much will that be in tokens? You agree on the tokens. How many tokens should I give you? You say, okay, it's going to be 10 tokens or 15 tokens. You send them 15 tokens. They give you the lawnmower. Now they get 15 tokens that they can trade with. They can exchange, or they can sell them on the trading platform. One Small Town trading platform, private trading platform, not some open stock exchange. Okay. So when I say on the trading platform, it is our private membership trading platform. So that's the benefit. The OST store, the community kitchen, food and other products. And then at the end of the month, once our businesses start to make a profit, keep in mind that the profits from every business in our town that we start, that we are a minimum of 60% profit shareholders of those businesses. All those profits then get pooled together and distributed to every member in that One Small Town. It doesn't go outside of that town because you are a member of a specific One Small Town. And in your specific One Small Town that you belong to, that you are a member of, where you contribute your 3 hours a week towards the businesses and whatever it is that you contribute your 3 hours a week. It's either community upliftment projects or it's businesses that are set up to make a profit, to make product or grow food or do anything that we choose to, obviously, whatever that business is, to make a profit. Those profits are then pooled, and you as a member of that community gets an equal share of those profits. Everyone in the community gets the same amount distributed to them, as long as you contribute your 3 hours a week. So you've got to be a compliant member. And once again, we had to create the platform so that the platform knows immediately who is eligible to receive the benefits, to receive the monthly profit distribution. Because if you haven't contributed your 3 hours a week, then you haven't played your part. You didn't contribute like everybody else did. So this is a level playing field. It doesn't matter whether you're a doctor or a dentist or a very important person in your own lunch hour and you think the sun shines out of your backside. It doesn't matter. Everyone needs to contribute the same amount of time. And that's the leveling of the playing field. It's the time. And time is something that everybody has. Even the busiest people in the world will find 3 hours a week. And if they don't, then it's fine. They can carry on with their lives. But if they want to be part of One Small Town, then you'll find 3 hours a week to contribute. And then you are what we call compliant or an active member. And you will receive your benefits. And the platform calculates that automatically. So we don't have to have accountants checking that every month and making mistakes and this and an entry level mistake and this, or trying to cheat and allocate more to somebody there. This is why we had to create the platform. And this is why the platform is such an important nerve center of making this an equitable, powerful tool. I hate the word equitable because it reminds me of DEI, and we all know what DEI is. It's a recipe for disaster. So we want to make sure that everybody is treated fairly and equally in the distribution of the goods and produce and profits, because we've contributed equally. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, and I'm going to digress a little bit. What about the people that contribute more than 3 hours a week? And that's a fair question. So the minimum requirement for everyone in One Small Town to get all the benefits, the dividends, the food, the tokens, etc., and most importantly, the feeling of belonging. The feeling of belonging to something great, that you're doing something great for your community and great for the world, and providing for your children's future. So where was I going with this? Oh my God, I lost my train of thought. What's going on with me? My brain is scattered all over the place. Oh, the people that work more than 3 hours a week, or 3 hours a week. Those people can choose to work 3 hours a day. They still receive the same amount as everybody else that only contributed 3 hours a week. But the difference is the people that contribute 3 hours a day could get an extra token and they get an extra plate of food. So that's the benefit that they get over and above the people that only contribute 3 hours a week. You see how fair that system is. So every time you contribute 3 hours, you get a token. So you might contribute 2 hours a week or more than, you can end up contributing more than 3 hours a day, because you might contribute, cleaning the streets for 3 hours a day, and then going to teach to be a carpenter, to teach people how to do carpentry, and you earn tokens for that because now you're a teacher. Or you might go to learn in the afternoon to learn how to be a welder, or how to make cheese, or how to bake bread in the internship in your community. So you earn another token for doing an internship, because now you're learning an important skill that'll become an asset to your community once you've become a trained, well-skilled individual in that community. So those tokens become valuable. You can trade them, exchange them, sell them, go to the trading store, get stuff you need. So we don't need to earn fiat currency. Very soon, we'll reach a place with One Small Town where you're not going to worry whether you're earning dollars or pounds or euros or whatever currency you need to earn to survive, because you'll be earning tokens that actually give you everything you need. This is a game changer, and I know that some people are not going to get it instantly, but this is when we start to realize that money does nothing, people do everything, and we get up and we do something. We grow our food, We start our businesses, we do things, and we reward ourselves. We don't have to wait for somebody to give us a job. And on that note, I need to just really discuss this. It looks like we're coming up to an hour. Is that correct? Have we been at this for nearly an hour? Oh my God, we have. Okay, so maybe this is what I'm going to finish off on this week, is that this is where you can start seeing the big difference between jobs and the desperate need. Job creation. We hear governments constantly talk about job creation, and we need more jobs and all that. When I hear that, I get a knot in my stomach, because jobs are not a solution. Okay, please get that into your skull. Jobs are not a solution. It's a temporary solution. It'll certainly solve a big problem now if we can find 10,000 jobs for members of our community. Yes, it's a short-term solution. It solves a problem in a short term, but it's not a long-term solution, because sooner or later, that factory or the company or the mine will close down. They will close their doors if they're not making a profit. If the shareholders decide that it's not worthwhile keeping that company open, they will close that company, and everybody that got a job will end up on the street back where they were before they got that job. So clearly, creating jobs is not a solution. What a lasting solution is what we're creating with One Small Town. You've already seen the benefits. You don't need a job as long as you contribute to your One Small Town every day, right? You'll be looked after with tokens and with food. And that will help you survive a lot more than you've been able to survive until then. So we're not creating jobs, we're creating work for people. We're creating for people something to do for people. And we're starting companies and businesses in which you are an active and equal profit shareholder in every business that we start in our community. That's a game changer. You don't have a job, you contribute towards the success of that business, and as a result of that, you get rewarded with our own membership tokens, and you get rewarded through the distribution of the profits of that company. And this is what's going to make us work harder, better, be more diligent, make sure we make more profits, because the more we put into each one of our businesses that we are shareholders of, the more profits are going to be distributed to us. So now this is not a job that you go to and you're going to be slack and be a loafer and do as little as possible just for the day to go by. And you'll realize that the profitability and the productivity, that's the word I'm looking for, the productivity of One Small Town businesses become a very big attraction for investors or potential investors into One Small Town businesses. Now, I use the word investor, and that might probably put up a red flag for people to say, well, how does that work? If investors invest, what do they get and what do we retain? It's very important to understand. And again, all of this is on our website in great detail, that we welcome investors and we want investors, and we will woo investors to come and invest into our towns, into our communities, into our businesses. But the investors can never, ever own more than 30% of any business they invest in. They can never have the controlling share or the controlling say in the businesses. The businesses belong to the community. They help to fund that business because they like One Small Town. They like the humanitarian aspect of it. They like the productivity. They like the profitability, which is higher than in normal companies. Why? Because our labor costs are so much lower, because we don't have to pay thousands of people to work in our businesses, because we're the workers in our own businesses. So the investors that invest into our One Small Town businesses save on the exorbitant labor costs that are crippling many businesses. And that also, by the way, the many businesses that are battling to survive, that operate on labor because they're labor intensive, they need people. It's difficult to do it with computers or automation. It's difficult to do it with computers. And the people are the best solution for there are many, many businesses that work on that fact. So we don't have to create robots and automation for fancy businesses. We have the people and the labor force to do it ourselves. And this is huge. This changes everything. So we can start businesses that under normal capitalist business plan models would be unprofitable and would be very difficult to motivate for investors. We're turning it upside down and saying, because of the united labor force that we have, of 120,000 hours of free labor a month, we can choose to do all kinds of things that normal companies cannot do. And that is a huge game changer. And that's what gives our one small towns such a competitive advantage and leading edge. And that goes across the board. Every imaginable business that you can think of, or industry, whether it's making laptops or building computer chips, I need to talk about that. We need to start talking about very advanced technologies that we launch in our One Small Town initiatives, so that we start becoming global players in as many diverse fields as possible. Obviously, starting with food and food security. That's always my passion. It's the closest thing to my heart, and I think we've run out of steam. And I think no, we've not run out of steam. We'll never run out of steam. But I think we've covered enough subjects in this One Small Town podcast number 2 on the 13th of November 2024. I have many, many more things. I have 2 pages filled with notes that I wanted to cover today. Obviously, it's far too much to cover in 1 hour in one session. But at the risk of information overload, I think let's stop here. We're way over an hour now, or about 6 minutes more than an hour. And I hope that we've covered some important aspects here, and that you have a slightly broader idea of what One Small Town is, how you can get involved. The key thing, and next week I'm going to talk about this. We will start next week with the most important thing that we're doing right now with One Small Town. And I did bring it up last week, and that is we need highly qualified and capable and competent people to become ambassadors for their countries, and even more importantly, ambassadors for their towns. Without an ambassador in a specific town, we can't launch One Small Town unless there is an appointed ambassador. So our drive right now, and you'll probably see me do many videos about this and a lot of posts and videos, is we're going to be looking for highly competent, experienced ambassadors to lead by example and start One Small Town, in their community. The ambassadors are very serious roles and very serious appointments that we have to make as the One Small Town office. This is not something to be taken lightly. So the kind of person we're looking for are highly experienced corporate people that have run companies with many divisions, or multinational companies with many different things, because ultimately the ambassador will be managing all the activities in the town together with their project managers, their business planners, their commercial, the advisors, the agricultural advisors, their technology people, the IT, the PR people, etc. The sales managers. We need sales people, experienced people. What are we going to do with all the products that we grow and manufacture and create and invent? We need to sell them. We need to get rid of them. So we need highly experienced salespeople that know how to sell stuff across the world, through our countries, first of all, and then sell stuff around the world. So understand that the ambassador is a very, very highly experienced individual that knows how to run a major organization that'll end up managing hundreds of businesses in just that one town, and many, many products that need to be manufactured and marketed and sold and delivered and exported and stored and protected and so forth. So the ambassador, very, very serious role. So we're looking for serious people that understand we're doing something very special and very serious, and that's what we're going to be talking about. I'll start off next week about the process of applying to become an ambassador and what the ambassador's responsibilities will be, together with the team that the ambassador puts together. So on that note, I want to thank you for watching. I hope that this live stream went smoothly. Unfortunately, I was caught in mid-traveling. I have a personal family medical emergency that I'm on my way to, and I had to stop in Johannesburg at my friend's house to do this podcast on the road. I had to throw my lights in the car and come and set up here at his house. And then as I was about to go live, the entire Wi-Fi network collapsed and it blocked me. I couldn't go onto the Wi-Fi network, which is a great Wi-Fi network here at his house. And I'm actually doing this podcast on my cell phone, on my 5G network on my cell phone. So I hope and trust that it worked. And want to thank you for logging in and watching this. And we will be setting up the questions. I'm still waiting for our IT guy to set up the link that you can click on and fill in your question that you want me to cover. As we go through these podcasts, I will start covering some questions online that are not answered, questions that are not answered in on the website, okay? Don't be lazy. Don't make me do all the work. Don't make me repeat answers to questions that have already been answered many, many times. So I'll see you next week, Wednesday, whatever the date is. Wednesday, what's today? The 13th, so it'll be the 20th. Wednesday, the 20th of November, 2024. We'll do this again, and we'll take this another step further and hopefully start getting some more excitement and more comprehension about the power of one small town. The importance is obvious. The importance of this should be obvious to everyone by now. But the power of what this is, the incredible power it gives the people in their small towns, in these beautiful small towns that have been neglected, that are in decay, that our governments have forgotten, that the big corporations have abandoned, where things stand empty, and abandoned farms, abandoned businesses, abandoned factories, abandoned hotels, abandoned everything. It's a sad state of affairs. What gives me great joy is that I know that with the One Small Town initiative, we can reinitiate, revitalize all this infrastructure that is worth millions and millions and put it to good use for the benefit of the people of each one of these communities. And that's what makes me so excited about this initiative. We're breathing life into the small towns of the world and giving people that feel trapped in the cities a place to escape to. And that's a whole nother subject that we can talk about. And so, right, that's enough for today. Thank you very much. See you next week. Bye for now.